You know that feeling, right? Hunger. But what if I told you it's not just about an empty stomach? It's actually a super complex hormonal conversation happening inside you right this second. A conversation that's controlling your appetite, your energy, and yeah, even your weight. So let's get into it and decode that conversation.
All right, let's just jump right in with a pretty wild question. What if your body fat wasn't just sitting there? What if it was actively talking to your brain? Now, I know it sounds a little like science fiction, but it's the biological reality done here. So, how do all these different body parts chat with the brain? I mean, it's not like they have a direct phone line. They use these little chemical messengers called hormones. And in the whole story of our appetite, there are two star players that we absolutely have to meet. The easiest way to picture this is like a seesaw. On one side, you've got ghrelin. That's the go, go, go hormone that tells you you're hungry. And on the other side, you have leptin, the whoa, stop hormone that tells you you're full. When everything's working right, these two are in this perfect, delicate balance. First up, let's talk ghrelin. People call this the hunger hormone for a pretty obvious reason. It's produced in your stomach, and when your stomach is empty, ghrelin levels shoot up. It travels up to your brain with one very loud, very clear message. Hey, time to eat. It's the ultimate green light. And on the other side of that seesaw is leptin. Now, this is the hormone that proved that wild idea we started with, that your fat is in fact talking to your brain. Leptin is produced by your fat cells. Its name actually comes from the Greek word for thin, and its whole job is to tell the brain, hey, we've got plenty of energy stored down here. You can cool it with eating now. It is the body's natural off switch. Now, in a perfectly working system, this whole thing creates this elegant feedback loop. See, the amount of leptin in your blood is directly tied to how much body fat you have. So more fat means more leptin, which should tell the brain to dial down the hunger and maybe even kick up your metabolism to burn off the extra fuel. It's a beautiful, self-regulating system. But what happens when that feedback loop breaks? What if the messages are being sent loud and clear, but mission control just stops listening? This is where the whole communication system can go completely haywire. And this brings us to the absolute heart of the issue, a condition called leptin resistance. When there are a lot of fat cells, the body is pumping out huge amounts of leptin. Now you'd think this would make you feel full all the time, right? But the brain gets so bombarded with this constant stop eating signal that it just becomes desensitized. It's like someone shouting in your ear all day long. Eventually, you just tune it out. The brain stops listening. And in a really tragic twist, it interprets that silence as starvation, so it does the only thing it knows how to do. It cranks up your hunger. And that is the vicious cycle. Your brain thinks you're starving, so it makes you hungry. You eat more, which leads to more fat storage. That new fat produces even more leptin, which just makes your brain even more deaf to the signal. It's a biological trap that can completely sabotage any efforts to manage weight. This broken communication system doesn't just mess with your weight either. The consequences create this cascade of health problems that ripple throughout your entire body. It's a true domino effect. And the impact is systemic and really serious. You see it in the metabolic system with things like insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. In the cardiovascular system, you see hypertension and heart disease. Even your lungs are affected with conditions like sleep apnea. We're talking everything from gastrointestinal issues to a higher risk for certain cancers, all because this one hormonal signal went offline. So, knowing all this, how are we supposed to approach weight management? Well, this complex biology shows us that it's just not as simple as that old advice to just eat less. The internal conversation has to change too. Now, don't get me wrong, the balance of calories in versus calories out is still a fundamental piece of the puzzle. It absolutely matters. But understanding our internal biology means we have to be a lot smarter about our approach. Because going to extremes isn't just ineffective, it can be incredibly dangerous. In fact, the medical literature is totally unambiguous on this point. When it comes to total fasting, I'm talking complete starvation, as a weight loss strategy, the professional consensus is clear. It is not recommended, period. And there's a huge reason for that warning. It's a dangerous condition called refeeding syndrome. This is a severe and potentially fatal metabolic crisis that can happen when someone starts eating again after a long period of starvation. So what happens here? Well, after starvation, the body is in a very fragile state. Reintroducing food, especially carbs, triggers this massive insulin surge. This surge causes a rapid, dangerous shift of essential minerals. We're talking phosphate, potassium, and magnesium out of the blood and into the cells. This sudden imbalance can completely shock the system, leading to severe consequences like cardiac arrhythmias, seizures, coma, and even sudden death. So the big takeaway here is this. Understanding the delicate conversation between hormones like leptin and ghrelin and recognizing the real dangers of hormonal resistance lets us approach health in a much smarter, safer way. It's about learning to work with our biology, not declaring war on it. Which leaves us with one final, provocative question to chew on. If a breakdown in our hormonal signaling is really at the heart of the problem, could manipulating these very same hormones also be the key to finding a solution? That's something to think about. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.